Explaining this will quite be a challenge. A few days ago, I built probably the first sugarcane farm in Minecraft featured by structure blocks. Explaining this might not be so simple in a single video, but I will give it a try anyway and take a detailed look at the technology behind it. First of all, I will briefly explain what's going on here and what's the core idea behind this build. We have completely fully automatic sugarcane farm, which after harvesting the sugarcane triggers a hopper minecart. This minecart then drives to an automatic unloader, and after unloading is complete, automatically returns to its starting point. And this process will also accompanied by signal sounds. That's the simple part. The more complex part, which is likely to interest most people, is the large screen with a friendly face, which reacts to the processes on the sugarcane farm and gives the player information about the harvesting process. On Instagram and TikTok, this face has already been named Palma, for a good reason I think. How is it constructed? I've created a clear plan and roughly recreated it here in Minecraft for this tutorial. And we will use this plan to replicate the functionality. Unfortunately, I want to be able to make a block-by-block tutorial here because the build would take too long to explain in detail. But I've already uploaded some videos that can answer many questions. For example, you can see the full 18 hours of the building process in these two videos, as well a complete tutorial on how to work with structure blocks which we need for this screen. Okay, just let's start. First of all, in this yellow square here, we're going to build our sugarcane farm. For that, we will grab some materials. We need some dirt, we need water. Of course, we will need sugarcane, and we can take some stone here as well. And then we will need redstone and pistons. Oh, and we also need an observer. I like to use stairs to handle the water. Okay, these are the materials we will use for our farm. The first thing we will do is just place some dirt. Then we will complement that with stairs. So here we will fill in the water. And now we've just watered the dirt blocks. We can now plant our sugarcane here. Yeah, we have to lower the tick speed a bit because it's a little too fast. Set it to 20. And yeah, lower this as well. What we will do next is we will build a wall behind here. You can design it however you like. Now we will place the pistons here. These pistons will harvest the sugarcane when they receive a signal. I will now show you how the signal works. And we will place an observer here at the top, and this observer will monitor what happens in front of it. So if the sugarcane grows high enough to reach the observer, it will trigger all the pistons to harvest the sugarcane. We will do this simply by running a redstone signal along here. With this signal, the pistons will be triggered, and we can test it by placing a block in front of the observer. Good. Now we want to collect the items that fall. For that we will use a rail and a powered rail as well. We will place them down here. Add a block behind it, which is important because this ensures the minecart stops here and can start from this point again. Of course, we want to place a minecart here, and we will use a hopper minecart for that. That's this one. And once it's triggered, the minecart will start and collect the sugarcane that falls down, picking everything up bit by bit. To ensure the sugarcane doesn't scatter everywhere, it's a good idea to enclose the area slightly. Yeah, now add a roof. You can also add a glass front here, so the sugarcane doesn't fall out in front. Let's do that. Now we want to take a signal from here and bring it down to use it. We will connect it down here and integrate it into the circuit. We will likely need a repeater because the signal only travels a certain distance. We can power it up a little bit or extend it slightly. I'm not entirely sure why this works, but extending the signal gives the minecart enough time to activate properly. Let's try it out and place a block here. Yes, exactly. Now the minecart moves. Of course, it stops here since nothing has happened yet. What we build next is an automatic unloader. Let's build it right here, giving more power to the rails so that it can always move and doesn't stop in the middle. Now we will add the unloader. The unloader ensures that the minecart loaded with sugarcane travels here, unloads into a chest, and then automatically returns to its starting position once empty. We will start by building a chest here. We can make a double chest as well. Then we will add a hopper leading into the chest, not like this. You can do it by holding shift, aim at the chest and place the hopper so it connects. Now we will route the rail upward and place an activator rail on the top. The unloader itself is pretty simple. First, we will place a redstone comparator facing away from the hopper. Behind it, place a block, then a redstone torch on the side of the block and another block on the top. Add a repeater pointing back toward the activator rail. You see the rail is now active. What happens is that when the minecart comes here, it unloads its contents into the chest. Once it's empty, the minecart just automatically returns to its starting position. That means this chest will soon be filled with some sugarcane. It won't be that much because we've built a very small farm. Let's quickly raise the tick speed again. Okay, now the minecart arrives and unloads, and then it heads back. You see, we now have 17 pieces of sugarcane here. Well done. However, we want to add a small signal to it. That means as soon as it arrives, it should give a small acoustic signal. These orange squares you see are intended for this. Let's start here. It's a bit easier by adding a detector rail. We will place it here, and from this we lead out the redstone signal. Now we will work with node blocks. We will place 2 of them in a row here, connect them with a repeater, and usually they will make this sound. It sounds a bit too heavy in my opinion, but there's now a really cool function that the node blocks have. For the sugarcane farm over there, I've chosen the golden sound. Just by place it directly under the node blocks, and now they sound like this. And you also can adjust the pitch. As soon as the minecart passes here, which will happen soon, you will see that these node blocks will make a sound. It's actually pretty simple. What happens next is we also want a signal when it starts. We will capture this signal right here as soon as the pulse is given by the observer. We will lead this signal directly without any detours and create a new signal. We do this exactly the same way in this build. I've used both sound effects with gold blocks, but we can also use something different. Let's try, for example, hay. There are many different blocks that produce different sounds, and let's say I want a banjo sound. So this is how it sounds now. So we have 3 node blocks playing again. We can play around with the timing a bit here, so they play a bit slower. Now we can manually trigger the observer again. Let's listen. Okay, that was maybe a bit too many tones, but you could hear that they were triggered immediately. Alright, this here is the simple part. Now we move on to the slightly more complex part. Let me briefly show you how the finished build looks. Let's fly over here quickly. By the way, this is the unloader that we just built. It works exactly the same way, only now it's full, and that's why this card will never leave. See, now it's automatically unloading. I think the best way to empty the chest is just by destroying it. The farm is basically the same as the one below, just a bit bigger and more nicely designed. And the mechanics in the background are exactly the same. We have the observer here with the node blocks we just saw. And on the outside, we've buried some more node blocks. Yeah, this is the easy part. The tricky part is this one. What this does, I will explain down below in the test area, because it might look a bit confusing what's going on here. But I will explain it shortly. Alright, let's move on to the next part. We take the signal here and carry it forward. And what needs to happen now, we need a device that converts this pulse, which occurs after the observer, into a constant signal. We need this for the screen later. This will make sense in a moment. And to convert a pulse into a signal, we need a dropper, a hopper, a comparator, and a redstone. Now, here's what we are going to do. We take the signal and place the droppers in following directions. This dropper is facing backwards. This dropper is facing upward, and this dropper is facing toward me. This dropper points to another one, which then leads to a hopper going directly downwards. Next, we take the comparator and place it so that the arrow points outward again. Then we take a redstone signal and directly connect it to a repeater. And now everything that arrives here as a pulse should remain as a constant signal at the other side. After we've placed an item in one of the droppers. This can basically be anything, and we can test it now by taking a lever and placing it here to send a short signal into the circuit. Alright, it didn't work. Okay. The signal was too short, got it. As you can see, I gave a very short pulse, but now I have a constant signal behind it. Good. Okay, for now we will leave this lever here. In a short while, the pulse from the observer should arrive here. But before the observer interacts with our circuit, we will just work with the controlled signal by the lever. So now let's move on to the screen. This surface represents the screen. The screen is made up of two different sequences. You can see this from the path that are already drawn here. And first we need a default sequence. This is basically this sequence you see when nothing happens. As soon as the observer is triggered, because the sugarcane has been harvested, the second sequence starts. Once the sequence is completed, it should automatically return to the default sequence. To create this sequence, we need structure blocks. I've made an entire video explaining how to use structure blocks. I'd recommend checking it out if you don't know how structure blocks work. Here's how we do it. First, we take a structure block. There are two ways to do this. We can use commands, or you can go to Options, Controls, Enable Operator Items tab, and then you will see this tab here, which also contains the structure block. Now we need exactly 3 of them. We will place them as follows. One here, one here, and one here. The exact positioning of these structure blocks isn't strictly necessary. Now we first define the area and set this to a safe block. In this case we type -2, 0, and 1. And for the structure size we enter 2, 10, and 40. Now we see we have the area defined. We are now preparing to create a loop. To do this we place a repeater in front of this block and then one piece of redstone dust. Now we define this block. This will be the load block. It's the load block for the default animation. We define this load block at the relative position of -1, 0, and 0. Now we want to create the default animation here. I want to rebuild this phase again. I spent a few hours creating this animation in a separate program and then I build it block by block. I want to do that now, but I will create a little animation so you can recognize it as the default animation. And now I would add a circle or a square and this is our first frame. The animation is now saved as default _01. Now we want to load this the second one directly. And we save it. Now let's go a step further. We load the third one and save the second one. Okay, now if we created a default loop, to activate this, we do the following. We place a normal block here, then we place 2 repeaters. And on this block, we place a redstone torch. And now we can activate the loop. And you can see once this block is activated, the load block gives us the animation. And this animation should run permanently, as long as nothing happens. Now we have a second load block. It should be triggered by the pulse or signal that's created here. Here's how we do it. First, we define the load block. We turn off the default animation for now, and the relative positions are -5, 0, and -10. Sequence 2.1 should be loaded with this. We save this and we will need it shortly. Now we activate this. We will now create the second sequence, which will be triggered once the harvesting process begins. We start with this exclamation mark. We enter this text here and we want to repeat it a few times. We set it to 2, make this a bit longer and save it. Now we save this one as 3. Now it should look like this. For example, with a loading text. Or I'd say let's just use a big UL, what stands for unload. This now is sequence number 5 and we move to 6. And is this animation done? From here we go back to the default animation. Type DFT_01. That's the default animation and it should then load. Then it goes back to its loop. we need to quickly reset it. Let's do this manually and restart the default animation. Now we have the following problem. We can already easily start the second sequence with a switch. Once we see the exclamation mark, the UL for unload, and it will automatically land back in the default animation. Perfect, exactly how it should be. So now, if the signal comes again, it would technically do nothing. This means we need to reset this. We need to send a double signal. To do this, we take this repeater here, pull it a bit further. We place 4 repeaters here and provide a delayed signal once the observer triggers. Okay, we now have sequence 2, this is it, and this sequence will always run. You can make it clearer by placing a redstone torch here. Okay, that wasn't strictly necessary, but it makes it clear that the signal is always on. Now we want to activate sequence 2. We can test it. You will see it's connected to the observer now. And now once the sugarcane grows in front of the observer will send a pulse. This will start the site with the minecart and it will go to the unloader, gives a pulse to our pulse to signal adapter and send a signal to the load block. This starts sequence 2 with the exclamation mark and there it goes. And then it goes back to the default mode. Perfect. And you also saw the signal was automatically deactivated by the delay. We can take another look at this. Everything has been reset to default now. In theory, this would work with just a single pulse from the observer, but the pulse is too short. It doesn't work. There are certainly other ways to solve this. I think real redstone operators would probably shaking their heads and saying it can be solved so much better, but I can't do that. But it works at the end. And yeah, here we increase the tick speed one more time. And then you can see everything in action. Let's place ourselves here and wait until the observer triggers. Perfect, exactly as it should go. Now, of course, we can time everything a bit better. It's all a matter of timing. Just to keep it simple, it's only these 2 sequences for now. You could, of course, make it more elegant, for example, by taking the unloading signal and really only giving the unloading text when it actually unloads. That means even if this chest is full and the minecart is standing still, the unloading will stay there until it leaves again. At the moment, it's just a sequence that's well tuned. Even theoretically, build a mechanism here that shows an arrow, like it's too full, the chest needs to be emptied, or something else. I have to admit, I still need to figure out how to do it. But with these signals and sequences, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Yeah, that's basically it. I hope it was somewhat understandable. I find it very difficult to explain, and please forgive me, this is not a step-by-step blog tutorial on how to build this. That's what the long plays are for, and also feel free to check out the structure block video, where you can see exactly how to create such sequences. I'd also be happy if you subscribe to the channel, and yeah, thanks for watching and see you soon.